Welcome back again to another Fundi live sessions. Yes, we heard you. We heard how you wanted more of these live sessions, and Fundi delivers to its clients. This year, our topic will be investment management. How do we understand investments? You know, COVID has taught us many things about how we use our money. These unpredictable times have taught us not only to manage our money wisely, but also to invest our money to grow for us. So we have decided to focus on investments, understanding investments. And as per usual, you've requested him and we've brought him back. Ephraim is back to tell you guys more about understanding investments. Ephraim from the Financial Services Conduct Authority will bring us simple, everyday examples of how to manage our money and invest our money for our benefit. Thank you, Ephraim.
Hello once again, and welcome to another session for financial literacy. And in this time, we'll be looking at understanding investments. When we're talking about investments, what is it that we are talking about? Even in these times where we are being hit by COVID-19 and its regulations, uncertainties, you need to understand where you are standing with your finances and be able to take charge and take control of your financial future. So through understanding investments, it will help you to be able to take charge and be in control of your finances. When we're looking at investments, firstly, we need to have in mind what we're talking about when we're talking about setting up goals for the future. For an example, here we are introduced to a guy called Lesego. Lesego has got his own financial goals. He has planned to go for a holiday. He has planned to go for marriage, and is also thinking about retirement. So those are the goals that Lesego has planned. And these goals, they might be either short-term, medium-term, or long-term goals. Going on a holiday, it might be a short-term goal. Getting married, you can take it as a medium-term goal, and retirement, it's more of a long-term goal. Let us look more in terms of the goal settings. You have what we call the short-term goal. It can be anything from a year to 3 years. You have the medium-term goal, anything from 3 years to 5 years. And then a long-term goal, it will be a period between 5 years and more. And the examples of a short-term goal might be planning an overseas holiday or even buying a car for yourself. And then medium-term goal might be looking at you placing a deposit on your house. And an example of a long-term goal, it might be maybe paying for your retirement, or even setting aside money for your children's education. So those are the goals that you need to set. Setting goals, it will help you to be able to understand which investment vehicle you need to use. It will also help you to understand which product for you will be relevant in terms of the period that you have set for yourself to invest. Either you're investing for a short-term period, you're investing for a medium-term period, or you're investing for a long-term period. So it is important that even before you start investing, you start checking what is my goal for investing? How long? What is the period for me to invest? Is it a short-term period? Is it a medium-term period? Or it's a long-term period? Now let us look at what investment is. You know, for a lot of people, they think that investment is complicated. They do not see themselves doing investment. They think investment, it's for them, it's not for you. You know, they might think that it is complicated. They don't know where to start, where to go about. But in simple terms, investment, it involves money. It involves capital, what we refer to as assets. combined with discipline. And when we're talking about discipline in investment, we are referring to, you allowing, having discipline to allow time period to pass over so that you can be able, to allow time to pass and allow your investment to mature. We are also talking about time. Investment, it involves time. You don't want to invest your money today and then tomorrow you are taking it out. So it is important that you consider these three things when it comes to investment. Your capital, which is known as your money or your assets, plus discipline, plus the time. So in investment, you allow time. Let us look at the terminologies that are involved in investment. Firstly, we have what we call capital. Capital, it's nothing else but it's your assets, it's your money, it's your salary that you have that you want to invest. Capital, it might even be your bonus that you have at the end of the time, or maybe you were playing lotto and then you got some additional income. So that it is the money that you are using in order to invest. It is referred to as capital. And then there is what we call the return on your investment. A return on your investment, it can either be a positive return or a negative return. And when we're talking about a positive return, it means that the amount of money that you have used, in order to invest was able to bear interest, and then now you have profit over the amount of money that you have invested. In investments, there are either a profit or a loss. So all you want to do, you want to work towards a profit. You want to be sure that in the investments that you have made, there is always a positive return on your investment. Sometimes, if you're not careful, you will end up having a negative return on your investment. That is referred to as your loss in terms of your investments. Let us look at the difference between savings versus investment. When we're talking savings, they are more goal-orientated. It's something that you want to do right now. For an example, you are saving in order to buy a laptop. You're saving in order to buy that phone that you've been looking for. Whereas when you're looking at investment, it's more of wealth creation. It is for future orientation. We are looking at investing for the future, and in that investment, we are creating wealth. You are wanting to make sure that you have more wealth in the future. Savings, it's more of a short-term period, whereas investment, it's looking at a longer-term period. And in savings, it's easy for you to access the money that you have saved. Whereas in investment, it is harder for you to access the money that you have saved. Because should you want to access that money before the maturity time, that money will be, it will be charged interest on it, and then you won't be able to make profit from what you have invested. Again, savings, there are a minimum or even low risk in terms of savings. However, when it comes to investment, there is a higher degree of risk that you are involved in your investments. So those are the differences between savings versus investment. And what is more important with regard to this is that when looking at savings, the interest there is very minimal or nothing at all. Whereas when you're looking at investments, there are interests that are involved, which makes you to be able to create wealth at the end of the day. In brief, you are making your money to make more money with it. There is this video for the magic of compound interest, where we need to understand how does compound interest work. Compound interest, what is compound interest, and how can we make use of compound interest in order to make sure that we are able to invest our money and make our money to make more money for us. So right now I'm going to be playing this video, and then we'll discuss the magic of compound interest after the video.
Is compound interest the greatest invention the world has ever seen? Albert Einstein's alleged response when asked, "Mr. Einstein, what do you consider to be man's greatest invention?" He didn't reply the wheel, the lever, or the theory of relativity, E equals mc squared. He's reported to have said compound interest. Once you understand the power of compound interest, you'll be the equivalent of an Einstein among your group of family and personal friends. But Hold the applause for just a moment while we explain how compound interest works. Bring out the chalkboard and let's break down how compound interest can add to your piggy bank. Interest starts compounding once it's calculated and added to the principal of an investment. All past interest received also earns interest. This is an important concept for investors. Here's a practical example. Imagine the fictitious Patty Goodyear investing $2,000 in a tire store and earning 10% return each year on that investment. If she was a 21-year-old woman who invested the $2,000 until age 65, she would have over $132,000 to spend in retirement. If the same Patty Goodyear was a 50-year-old woman investing the same $2,000 at 10% each year until age 65, she would only have about $8,300 to spend in retirement. That reveals the powerful value of compound interest. The above example also demonstrates two essential points. First, compound interest is an important investment tool. And second, it's even more powerful when investors have time on their side. That's because the measurement of time plays a significant role in compound interest calculations. The old saying that the rich are getting richer is mainly based on the concept of compound interest. If investments are allowed to continue to grow over an extended time frame without reducing the principal or interest, Einstein was right. Compound interest is the greatest invention the world has ever seen.
That was the video on compound interest. In simple terms, compound interest, it is the interest that you make over the interest. It is the interest that you make both on your capital that you've invested, plus the interest that it accumulates over a period of time. For an example, when you're looking at our graph, it has got two types of interest. It's got the simple interest and the compound interest. When you're looking at the simple interest on the blue line, the simple interest is that you have your capital, the money that you want to invest. Let's say, for an example, the 2,000 rand. You are investing your 2,000 rand over a period of 25 years. You invest that capital for a period of 25 years, and then at the end of 25 years, you get the interest on it, on your investment. That is known as simple interest. Whereas when you're looking at compound interest, the same 2,000 rand that you're investing is going to be able to give you interest over the period of years that you've invested it. For an example, in year one, the capital that we've invested is going to be 2,000 rand, and then at the end of first year, it's going to give you interest. So both your capital and your interest will be now reinvested, and over a period of time up until 25 years. And then in 25 years, you find that all the capital that you've been investing plus the interest over a period of years, it gives you more interest that you are receiving. So in a nutshell, compound interest, it's all about you receiving interest both on your capital plus on the interest that you have gained over a period of time. So what is at play here is time. Time plays a major role in this instance, that even every year you get your interest on your capital, and both your capital plus your interest gets to be reinvested for the next year. And then in that next year, both that capital plus the interest and the interest that you've gained are both reinvested in the third year. Now you have both your capital, the interest for first year, second year, and third year. All of them, they are now reinvested. And then in that way, you are able to see more interest in the investment that you have made. So it is important to take advantage of the compound interest and how it works. Let us look at the golden rules when it comes to investment. It is important that you look at a longer term. When we're looking at investment, it's not a short-term thing. You don't invest today and then in 3 months' time, and then you start thinking of withdrawing your investments. But you need to allow time. And the sooner you start investing, the better. Because the earlier you start, the more wealth you'll be able to create. And the earlier you start, you are also able to play around with your investment. You are able to can shift your investment from one portfolio to another portfolio. So starting early, it helps you to be able to create more wealth and also to play around with your investment. For an example, if you are still at an early age, it is easy because there is no anything that pressures you to be able to want more money right now. However, if ever you are at the later ages, maybe closer to your pension, you'll be very sensitive to invest more money, because you know that you can be able to lose your money and then you go into pension without money. So starting early, you are able to can play around with your investments. Another golden rule of investment is doing your research. It is important that even before you go into investment, you do your own homework. How does this investment product work? What are the risks that comes with it? What are the benefits? What is my interest at the end of the time? So you don't just hear somebody saying this is the investment product, come and invest here, but rather you sit down and then you study it carefully so that you understand the pros and the cons of that investment. How does it work? You know, what product am I investing my capital on, and how will it benefit me? What are the interests that I'm going to get? Is there any tax involved? Is there any risks that are involved with that investment product? So doing your homework, doing your research before you investing is very much important. Another golden rule is about diversifying your investments. They usually say do not put all your eggs in one basket. For an example, if ever you got a bonus at work, it's not wise for you to take all the bonus and then you're investing it in one investment product, but rather you'll want to choose to diversify your investments. You can take a portion of that bonus, a portion of that income that you have, put a little here, for an example, maybe in unit trust, and then you put another one in shares, you put another one in stocks, and so forth and so on. And that will help you such that if anything happens in one investment product, you still are left with other investments that can also create money for you. And in another one, if the other one is not doing well, the other product will also make well for you. And in that sense, they will be able to balance your investments. So in a nutshell, it is important that you do not put all your eggs in one basket, because if you lose, you'll lose everything. But if ever you diversify and put a little here and a little there, if one investment product is not doing well, you know that the other one will be able to do well, and then you can see interest and create wealth out of it. The last other point is you making use of a registered financial advisor. When it comes to investment, it is important that you sit down with a qualified financial advisor who will take you through different types of investment products and investment options that are available. Don't just take any advice from anyone. Sometimes you have your uncles, you have, that community leader who's always prominent in the community, but they cannot advise you in terms of your investment. Why do we say that? Because should anything happen to investment, you don't want to go back and blame your family member. You don't want to go back and blame that community leader to say he made you to invest in this product and hence you've lost your money. But rather, if you are sitting down with a registered qualified financial advisor, he'll be able to take you through all the options, all the risks, all the interests that are involved in that investment product, for you to be able to make your informed decision and for you to understand what are the risks that are involved. Where are you able to make that risk and how you are able to cap that risk as it happens. So do not just take any advice from any other one, but rather sit down with a registered financial advisor. And us as the FSCA, we register all the financial institutions and financial service providers, including the financial advisors and financial brokers. So if ever you need to know more information with regard to where can you get hold of a financial advisor, a registered financial advisor, you can visit our website at the FSCA, and you can get more information. And also maybe you have a financial advisor. Somebody comes to you and says they are a financial advisor, and then you want to check if they are really a registered financial advisor. You can be able to check with us as the FSCA, and then we'll be able to give you that information that that person is indeed a registered financial advisor. Now let us look at the risks. The risk is the possibility of making a lot of money or losing a lot of money when it comes to investments. there are three levels of risks. You have the low risk, you have the moderate risk, and you have the high risk. Depending on the appetite that you have, you can either invest, in a low risk investment, or a moderate investment, or even a high risk investment, depending on the appetite that you have in your investments. I'll give you an example. When you're looking at low risk investment, you know that there comes low return on your investment. When you're looking at moderate risk, also the returns thereof, it's also on a moderate scale. But also the higher risk, it also gives you an opportunity for you to make more money and to have a higher return in terms of your investment. So you need to understand how risk works in terms of investment, and know that if ever you are investing your capital on this product, is it a low risk, is it a high risk, or is it just a moderate risk? I'll give you an example of the different risks that we are talking about. For an example, when you're looking at investments accounts that are being offered by banks, moreover they are on a low risk. You know that is the amount of money, is the amount of capital that you have, that you are investing, and therefore it's a low risk, because you know that this is the amount that I've invested, and the chances of me losing that amount, that capital, it is very low, so that is where your interest will go. But if ever you want to go for a high risk investment, you'll go also for the stocks exchange, where you know that the chances of you making more money, they are high, even as the chances for you losing money, they are also high. So depending on the appetite that you have, you can choose the risk that you are willing to take with your investments. Now let us look at what investment it's not. A lot of people think that a funeral cover is an investment, but a funeral cover it's not an investment. Remember, when we are talking investment, we are looking at creating wealth, making money to make more money for you. So in a funeral cover, you are not creating wealth. Instead, you have put money so that should a funeral happen, the funeral will pay out. But what they pay out most of the time is the expenses for the funeral. That money will go out to cover, the expenses of the funeral, either a casket or food or whatsoever that is involved in a funeral. So in itself, it's not creating wealth. So we cannot be looking at a funeral as a way of investment and thinking that we are investing through a funeral cover. It doesn't matter how many funeral covers you might want to take up, but a funeral cover, it's not an investment. What about the short-term insurance, such as your car or your household? People like to insure a car. It is good to insure a car, but in itself, it's not an investment, because should anything happen to your car, what the insurance is going to do is going to pay back on the damages to the car. If the car got damaged in front, they will replace whatever parts that needed to be replaced. But in itself, it's not an investment. You are not creating wealth thereby it. The same goes to your house. It's good to invest to insure your household properties. However, insuring your house, it doesn't mean it is an investment. It doesn't mean that you are creating wealth, but you are just securing your house should anything happen tomorrow, and then insurance will be able to pay back and to recover everything that you might have lost during that period of time. What about a stokvel? Is a stokvel an investment? So this question is the question that I would like to pose to each and every one of us, to start thinking about it and say, really, can you look at a stokvel as an investment? Is stokvel an investment? You tell me. Lastly, putting money in a box under the mattress, or even taking that money and putting it in a safe at the house, is that investment? It's certainly not an investment, because let's take an example. You have your 10,000 rand. You're putting it in a safe in a house. That 10,000 rand, no matter how many years you're not touching it, you're still saving it at the house, it remains to be that 10,000. Even after 5 years, even after 10 years, it remains as a 10,000. So there is no interest that you're getting out of that money. So when we're talking investment, you're taking your capital, being able to invest it in a platform where it will be able to create interest and create wealth for you. So putting money in a safe at home or taking that money and putting it under the mattress, it is not an investment. That 2,000 rand that you have put in the house, it will remain 2,000 rand. But if you take that 2,000 rand and invest it in a investment platform, it is able to create interest, and then it's able to create more wealth for you. What are the things that you need to avoid when it comes to investments? For an example, investments that offer unrealistic returns. There are people who come and say, come and invest with us, and in 2 weeks, in 2 months, your investment will be doubled, your investment will be tripled. That in itself, it offers an unrealistic return. There is no way that you can invest your money today and in 3 months' time your money is doubled or your money is tripled. You remember what we're talking about when we're talking about if it's too good to be true, it is definitely, that is how it is. So it is unrealistic. Where will that money come from? You cannot invest your capital and then in 2 months' time your capital has doubled or your capital has tripled. Remember, in investment you are looking at a longer period of time. Another thing to avoid when it comes to investment, it's investing under peer pressure. There are those colleagues, there are those friends who like to say, my friend, I went here and then I invested. Why don't you try it? Why don't you just come in? Try to invest it there. They are putting peer pressure on you. They're putting pressure on you to be able to invest. And sometimes you might follow them and then you lose out. So what you need to do, it's mostly don't invest under pressure. Take your time when you want to invest. Do your homework, do your research to make sure that wherever you are investing, you understand the product that works, you understand what it involves. Another area to avoid when it comes to investments is investments that are overly complicated. There are those other investments that they are not easily understandable. If it's something that is overly complicated for you, rather you can leave it at that point. I'll give you an example. Some other people find a cryptocurrency or bitcoins as overly complicated. So if you think that it is complicated for you, rather you do not invest your money in it because you think it's complicated for you and it won't work for you. So rather involve yourself, invest in products that you can be able to understand and you can be able to work with. If it's definitely overly complicated, rather avoid it and then go for those ones that you understand. There's also the pyramid schemes and the Ponzi schemes. Those are definitely you need to avoid. For an example, a pyramid scheme, it's more of a pyramid itself. There are those who head the organization, they are always on top, and then they expect that everybody must go and recruit new members. And then your return on your investment, you get it while you have recruited a new member, and then that new member is able to pay service fee and so forth and so on. And then that's how you get your money. But should anything happen and you're not longer having any new people to recruit, then you happen to lose out on your money. The Ponzi scheme, it's more of taking money from Vusi and then paying it to Temba. Usually you find that they take money from you and then they give it to somebody else. But with time, you find that there is no one else who wants to invest in that scheme. And then in that time, everybody wants their money and the scheme will certainly collapse. And those who have the money, the organizers of the scheme, they usually will take the money and they will disappear. So one thing that you need to avoid in terms of investments is those pyramid schemes and the Ponzi schemes. Make sure that you play very far from them because, yes, maybe the first round you might win, but you come again and then you start reinvesting again and then you lose out on the initial money that you've invested and even the extra that you wanted to invest. So rather avoid the pyramid schemes and the Ponzi schemes. The advice of people who are not financial experts, like your friends and your community leaders, you need to sit down with a registered financial advisor who will take you through the different types of investment products that are available. That person will be able to show you the risks that are involved. He will be able to show you the profits, the tax that comes with that investment product, so that you can be able to make an informed decision. You know, you'll be making your own decision in terms of what product am I wanting to invest on. You know, so those are the important things to avoid when it comes to investments. And for more information on investments, you can be able to visit us at our website at www.fscamymoney.co.za, where you can learn more about savings and investment, and you can have more information on that. And should you want to contact us, feel free to give us a call at this number. The Consumer Education Department, 012-367-788. Or you can just dial on 012-422-8000. And this brings us to the end of our session for today. Thank you so much for listening, and enjoy the rest of your day.